Assalamu alaikum everyone, and good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for taking your precious time to attend this Tawheed conference. I believe this is the fourth one, or third one, okay. Today is Saturday, July 12th, 2014, and we are here in West Babylon, New York area. Okay, I'm very pleased and proud to introduce a brother who is known for his charismatic speech and wealth of knowledge in the Quran. And now I'm going to give the floor to Brother Hamza Abdul Malik. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Imran, for that introduction, and thank everyone who came out today. As Brother stated, this is our third annual Tawheed conference. And you know from the, if you've viewed the conference tapes from before, which are now up on YouTube, you know how this whole thing got started, so I won't go back over that. Today, what I want to do is give a series of short talks. The theme of my talk today, my presentation, the theme of it is setting aright our differences. And that's going to be taken from the Quran, chapter 8, verse 2. Setting aright our differences. In other words, when I say our differences, I mean between the Muslims, whether they be Sunni, Shia, Qadiani, Ahmadi, whomever they might be, once they call themselves under the umbrella of Islam as Muslims, then differences that we have, some of them, we'll try to see if we can bring them into focus and get them kind of in line with the proper concept or the proper theology. So setting aright our differences. What I want to do, as I said before, present a series of short arguments, discussions from the Quran that might touch upon, and I'm sure they will touch upon, things that we differ regarding those things. So let me begin. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining us and participating in this conference. Let me begin with chapter 8 of the Quran. Chapter 8, verses 1 and 2. Allah says there, they ask thee about voluntary gifts. Say, voluntary gifts are for Allah and the Messenger. So keep your duty to Allah and set aright your differences. And obey Allah and obey His Messenger if you are believers. And verse 2 says, they only are believers whose hearts are full of fear when Allah is mentioned. And when His messages are recited to them, they increase them in faith, and in their Lord do they trust. So here the verse says, so keep your duty to Allah and set aright your differences. And Allah states there that if you are believers, and the only believers are those who, when Allah's name is mentioned, their hearts are full of fear. And when His messages, His ayats, are recited to them, that increases them in faith, in trust, and in their Lord do they trust. That increases them in trust of Allah, Allah only, and in Allah only do they trust. Quran chapter 8, verses 5 through 6. And here we're going to talk about differences that occurred even during the lifetime of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, during his lifetime. That differences occurred there. So my point is that if they had differences among themselves, even in the lifetime of the Prophet, then we could probably expect to have differences among ourselves now, far removed from that time. Chapter 8, verses 5 through 6. And even as thy Lord caused thee to go forth from thy house with truth, though a party of the believers was surely adverse. What were they doing? Verse 6. Disputing with thee about the truth after it had become clear, as if they were being driven to death while they saw it. So these believers here, they were asked perhaps to come out in the way of Allah. Maybe there was a struggle going, a fight going, or whatever, and they were disputing with the messenger even after the truth had become clear to them, they still were disputing. And Allah said they were disputing with such fervor as if they were being driven to death. Like somebody was inviting them to come and maybe jump off a cliff and commit suicide. And they're like, why would we do that? So the disputes arose right during the time of the Prophet. So we say if those disputes occurred then, we can surely expect them to occur now. Now I'm going to sidetrack from something that I normally do and point to something that I don't normally do. And that is quote something from a tradition. And I'm going to do that only to support this point of view for those who adhere to traditions. And after that, I won't be dealing with that anymore.
Thank you.
And what I want to state is that the first difference that arose during the lifetime of the companions while they were around the Prophet was during the time that he had died. When his death, they disputed about his death. And according to the hadith, the tradition, the fiqh books and the seerah books, the Prophet had died, and word was getting around that he had died, and they tell us that, I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit, they tell us that Umar had come and saw the people proclaiming that the Prophet was dead, and declared that no, he's not dead, and that he threatened with bodily harm those people who would continue making that statement. However, it came to the point where Abu Bakr, they tell us, Abu Bakr, he came in and he went in to see where the Prophet was laying and looked at him, confirmed that he had died, and recited, came out to the people again, recited a verse from the Quran, which is chapter 3, verse 143. He came out and recited this verse to the people. It says there, and Muhammad is but a messenger. Messengers have already passed away before him. If then he dies or is killed, will you turn back on your heels? Will you turn back on your heels? And also they tell us that another verse was quoted, 39:30, surely thou wilt die, and they too will die. So they go on to tell us that when that verse was recited, those verses were recited, that Umar is supposed to have said, and I have a copy of that information here, that Umar was supposed to have said that when the verse was recited, it was as if he had the first time he had heard it. It was as if the first time he had heard it. And that verse being cited calmed everybody down and got everybody back in position. So now my point there is that how was that first dispute settled? It was settled through the Quran. The Quran was the medium by which the first dispute after the time of the Prophet, after he died, arose and was settled. So that gives me the notion that any dispute that we have regarding Islam, regarding the deen of Islam, should be, can be, must be settled through the Quran. First of all, and I'm saying first and last because I think that the Quran settles any dispute that we need to have settled regarding theology, regarding God. So having said that, let me take the first point of argument that I want to establish. And that is the whole concept of Tawheed. Tawheed, not the whole concept, but the concept of Tawheed. Tawheed Allah, the unicity of God. And in the Quran, chapter 3, verse 17, we're going to see there, Allah bears witness that there's no God but He. There is no God but He, the mighty, the wise. I skipped some things in there, but I just want to bring out what is germane to my point. Anyone who wants to fill in that can go back and read it later, but it's not going to change the sense of what I'm saying. Allah bears witness that there's no God but He. There is no God but He, the mighty, the wise. So we here have Allah Himself bearing witness, the originator, the creators of heaven and earth Himself bearing witness that there's no God but He, to His unity, His unicity. Again in 21:25, 21:25 of the Quran. And we sent no messenger before thee, but we revealed to him that there is no God but me, so serve me. Allah is saying that there was no messenger that was sent that didn't have that same statement of what we call Tawheed. No messenger except that he said to the people, there is no serve God, there is no God but him. And in chapter 21, verse 108, 21:108, the prophet himself is reported to have said, the messenger, say, it is only revealed to me that your God is one. Will you then submit? It is only revealed to me that your God is one. I don't have any other notion about God in terms of his person, other than that he is unique. He's one. He doesn't have a duality, he doesn't have a Trinity concept, he doesn't have any offspring or anything that associates with him. And in chapter 21, verse 22, if there were in them, in the earth, gods besides Allah, they would both be in disorder. So Allah goes on to tell you that even if there were, say you wanted to have some gods and you had gods in the earth other than Allah, there would be chaos, there would be disorder. So it wouldn't be proper, you couldn't survive, there would be constant turmoil, the same way we have among humanity right now when you have different authorities and powers in different countries of the world. They're constantly in conflict and fighting and killing and destruction, one thing after the other. So Allah says that same thing, that if there were gods, you'd have the same problem. In the Quran, chapter 57, verse 3, Allah says there, talking about his person, his unity, he is the first, he is the last, he is the manifest, and he is the hidden, and he is knower of all things. He's the first without any beginning, he's the last without any ending, he's manifest so that you can know him, and he's hidden so that you can't comprehend him, so that you know him completely. So that's a broad statement and a very extensive concept of Tawheed. Now, any inter-religious dialogue that we as Muslims hold must begin with the concept of Tawheed. Must begin with the concept of Tawheed. If we want to discuss and we want to interact with our brothers of other faiths, then we come together and we sit down, and the first thing on the agenda is the concept of God, his unity, the concept of Tawheed, who he is. Of course, people are going to have different views, one thing after the other. Our Christian brethren might have a concept of a Trinity, yet they're going to say, look, this is one God with three manifestations. He manifests himself in three persons, and we bicker and wrangle about that issue. Our Jewish brothers might be closer to us, and they might say Tawheed, there's Shema, and we lean toward that position. However, they're going to have a term like Elohim. Elohim for their God is a term that's plural. You see, it's not singular. So we're going to have to iron that difference out with them. So the idea is that we must get on board, and the concept must be Tawheed. That is the first thing on the agenda. And we see that in the Quran, chapter 3, verse 63. Say, O people of the book, come to an equitable word between us and you, that we shall serve none but Allah, and that we shall not associate aught with him, and that some of us shall not take others for lords. The term there, lords, is arbaban, lords, from the term rabba, besides Allah. But if they turn away, then say, bear witness that we're Muslims. So there's the agenda. That's the platform. That's the platform for any interreligious discussion. Has to be that we come together, people of the book, we have revelation from God. We believe that all those revelations, if they are from God, they have instructed the people to profess that there's no God but God. So since that's the case, if you have deviated, if you begin to drift through the generations and gotten away from that concept of Tawheed, then this is what we want to call you back to. And when you bring your book to us, we should be able to look in there and say, oh, this is the verse of Tawheed, where Moses said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." Oh, this is the verse of Tawheed, where Jesus said, the first of all the commandments, or the greatest of all the commandments is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." And we agree. Kul hu Allah hu ahad. We're on the right platform. But if they don't want to iron that difference out, we're not going to put that aside and go somewhere else and start talking about other things and leave God all corrupted. So we'll have to say it. We bid you farewell. Bear witness at least that we are submitting ones, that we are Muslims, okay? Now, this idea of associating others with God and not having this concept of Tawheed, perfect Tawheed, is known in the Arabic language as shirk. Shirk. And maybe in other theologies it might be called blasphemy. Shirk means, basically in a word, to share, to have God share with something. You know, I have something, I say, look, you don't have enough of it here, take some of mine, you see, take some of mine. Or I can't move this thing, it's too heavy, can you come and help me move it? You share in doing this. God needs someone to share with him. This is what it is. And so Allah in the Quran makes that clear that all of these concepts and notions are null and vain. First place, in the Quran chapter 4 verse 36. Quran chapter 4 verse 36. And serve Allah alone and associate naught with him. Serve Allah alone and associate naught with him. Naught. Nothing. Second place we're going to look at is the Quran chapter 18 verse 110. Say, I am only a mortal like you. It is revealed to me that your God is one God. So whoever hopes to meet his Lord, he should do good deeds and join no one in the service of his Lord. Join no one in the service of his Lord. No person in the service of his Lord. And right away, that's going to raise a red flag for some of our Muslim brethren who, when they recite the ritual prayer and they come to the part known as Tashahhud, where they have to do the Tashahhud, they say, Atayyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa tayyibat, assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. They have now, assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu, addressing the prophet in the vocative as if he's alive and another person in the service of God. This is not right. This is going to be rejected by this verse. Say, I'm only a mortal like you. It is revealed to me that your God is one. So whoever hopes to meet his Lord, he should do good and join no one in the service of his Lord. So if you're doing this ritual salah in the service of God, no one should be joined in that service, no other person, place, or thing with him. And finally, number 3, in the Quran, chapter 51, verse 51, do not set up with God another God. So here we have, do not set up with God another God. We have, don't associate aught, naught, anything with God. Don't associate any person with God. Don't associate any other would-be God with God. So, moving to my second point of argument, obey Allah and obey his messenger. Obey Allah and obey his messenger. Now, the first thing I asked, and again on the last time we spoke, we had the Tawheed conference and I went through this discussion a little more in detail than what I'm doing now. I just want to bring it back again, and maybe if I can slow it down a little bit and not have so much information, it might be a little more easier to digest what I'm saying here. First thing I ask is a question. Was Muhammad required to obey Allah? When we read in the Quran, obey Allah and obey the messenger, we ask the question, was Muhammad as the messenger, prophet, Rasul and Nabi, was he himself required to obey Allah? We would have to say yes. We'd say yes, because if we read a verse like chapter 10, verse 15, when the people came to the prophet and said, bring a Quran other than this or change it, what did he say? He said, it is not for me to change it of my own accord. I fear that if I disobey my Lord, the grievous of the grievous day, the punishment of a grievous day. I fear that if I disobey my Lord. So obey Allah and obey the messenger. Is that for the prophet? Did he have to obey Allah first of all? I'm not talking about the messenger. Allah. He says yes. Well, what about the messenger? Did he have to obey the messenger? So wow, that's a strange. How would he have to obey himself? He's the messenger. Obey Allah and obey the messenger. This is where the confusion comes in. So, to straighten this situation out, we go and find out how is it that Allah communicates His will to mankind, His guidance to mankind. First, in the Quran, chapter 42, verse 51. Chapter 42, verse 51 says, it is not vouchsafed to a mortal that Allah should speak to him except by revelation, or from behind a veil, revelation being wahi, or behind a veil being hijaban, or by sending a messenger and revealing by his permission what he pleases. Surely he is mighty wise. So how does Allah communicate His will to mankind, to His creatures, human beings? By wahi, from behind a veil, or by him sending a messenger to a human being that he should, with his permission, so that he should be obeyed in that vein. So now, if that's the case, Muhammad was a mortal human being, we know that. And he was to obey Allah, we know that. And how was he going to obey Allah? He didn't have any direct face-to-face communication with God. We know that Moses had that kind of communication, even though later on he received wahi from God through revelation as well. But Muhammad, we don't have any idea of him having that communication with God, so it would have to be by this third medium, by sending a messenger and revealing by his permission what he pleases. So now we look in the Quran, chapter 22, verse 75. There we see that Allah says, Allah chooses messengers from among the angels and from among men. Allah chooses messengers from among the Malaika and from the Nas, the people, men. So, messengers from among them angels. Okay, that seems now to be getting somewhere with us, because we talk about Allah, and then a messenger from an angel, and messengers from among men. To me, that would equate that Allah sends a messenger to a man, a person, a mortal like Muhammad. He becomes a messenger, and he delivers the messages to other people. So we're just going to see if that seems reasonable to me. It seems like the way it's going to pan out. Well, let's just continue further and see. Obey Allah and obey the messenger. Does that have to apply to Muhammad? Does he have to obey the messenger? Quran chapter 2, verse 97. Say, whoever is an enemy to Gabriel, for surely he revealed it to thy heart by Allah's command, verifying that which is before it, and a guidance and glad tidings for the believers. Whoever is an enemy to Gabriel, surely he revealed it to thy heart by Allah's command. Who revealed it to your heart, Muhammad? Gabriel. By whose command? By God's command. So God has commanded Gabriel to reveal this Quran to the heart of Muhammad. And I believe that most Muslims believe that Gabriel was an angel, a malaika. If they don't, well, maybe they have some other idea. But for right now, let's just assume that we understand Gabriel to be an angel who brought the revelation to the prophet of Islam, Muhammad. Now, to strengthen that position up further, in the Quran, chapter 26, verses 192 to 196. Chapter 26, verse 192 to 196. And surely this is a revelation from the Lord of the worlds. The faithful Spirit has brought it on thy heart, that thou mayest be a warner, in plain Arabic language. And surely the same is in the scriptures of the ancients. So here Allah is showing up again that this medium for bringing the revelation is here called Al-Ruhul Qudus. Al-Ruhul Amin. The faithful, trustworthy, trusted Spirit. That what? He brought it on thy heart, that thou mayest be a warner. And this is in the scriptures of old. This prophecy about this messenger coming who's going to speak in God's name and so forth and bring this revelation. So now, in chapter 81, verses 19 to 21, this should really help us a lot now with this issue. Obey Allah and obey the messenger. Does the prophet himself, does that apply to him? See, I'm saying this and I'm stressing this because most Muslims believe when they read in the Quran, when Allah says obey Allah and obey the messenger, that means obey Allah and obey the messenger, meaning Muhammad first. He's the right after Allah, right to him non-stop. And so that therefore you obey Allah by accepting what is revealed in the Quran and obeying that, and you obey the messenger, meaning Muhammad, by accepting whatever he said in conjunction with the Quran, supplement to the Quran, hadith and sunnah, you see. So we obey him and follow those instructions once we can have found them to be sound, or however that methodology goes. I'm saying no, this is not what is said in the Quran regarding the first line of obedience. The first line of obedience is Allah and his messenger who brought the message to Muhammad, who Muhammad had to obey that messenger. So now, this verse should help us. Quran chapter 81 verses 19 through 21. Surely it is the speech or the word of a bountiful messenger, the possessor of strength, established in the presence of thy Lord, of the Lord of the throne. One to be obeyed. One to be obeyed. And then faithful, trusted. One to be obeyed. What is this Arabic term there for to be obeyed? This entity who we're saying is the angel Jibril, who's established in the presence of the Lord of the throne, who has brought this revelation to thy heart. He is to be obeyed. This Arabic word is muta'a. Muta'a. The same word when you say ati Allah or ati Rasul. From the same verb. Is to be obeyed. And he's Amin. He's trustworthy. He's to be obeyed. So therefore we see that this obedience, first of all, is the messenger has to obey the angel Jibril. The angel Jibril comes to the messenger and says, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. He is telling him to read. Now, brothers who follow the traditions and all that, they say, well, when that happened, the tradition says, man, I can't read. I'm not able to read. So this happened a couple of times, and the prophet now, after he got the idea what he was supposed to do is to recite out, and so he began to recite. So he obeyed that messenger. He could well have said, I'm not obeying nothing. I don't know who you are. I don't know what this spirit is. I don't know what this is enjoining this on me. I've been raised as an Arab in the society with my people and so forth, and I'm not about to change my position. I'm not about to obey nothing. He could disobey if he had wanted to, you see, but no, he had to obey. So obey Allah and obey the messenger. That addresses the messenger first, and it boils down to obeying Allah and his message. The messenger is only the messenger because he has a message. Without a message, he's not a messenger. So it's obey Allah and obey the message that he brings. This is what it boils down to now. And now for anyone who's seeing this for the first time, I can point them to go on to YouTube or Google and search Hamza Abdul Malik, which is my name, the source of guidance. And there you'll see that lecture, what I'm talking about here now, presented in a little more detail, and you can further get clarification via that source. Okay, point number 3, the guide. The question is, who is the guide for Muslims in particular? For the whole of mankind in general, but we're just addressing, this address is to my Muslim brothers, setting right our differences. So for our Muslim brethren, I'm asking the guide. Who is the guide? Allah and or Muhammad. Allah and Muhammad, or Allah or Muhammad. Who is the guide? Who is to guide us? Because that's important, because when the Fatiha is recited, it said there, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka Na'budu wa Iyaka Nasta'in, Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim. There we're asking to be guided the Siratal Mustaqim. Whoever enunciates that prayer is asking to be guided on the Siratal Mustaqim. So now we have to know, and we want to know, who are we requesting to be guided, the guidance from, and who is the guide? So we know that Muhammad, according to our sources, made the ritual salah, made ritual prayer 5 times a day, and during that prayer he recited this recitation. He stood himself and said, Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim. So he must have been appealing to someone to guide him. So if that's the case, we want to know, is that guide sufficient? Is that the guide that we should also appeal to? Or did it change now and sharing took place, wherein that God now, Allah, began to share the guidance with someone else? Muhammad asked for the guidance. After he got the guidance, Allah maybe said, well, you know, you're pretty good at this business now. Maybe you can help with this. You know, you're good with the guidance thing. You can help. You can take care of some of this guidance. Take some of this off me. Not to make fun, not to be making mockery of anything, but that's the way it would sound. That's what you're telling us. That's what it would sound like. It would sound even worse than that. Well, let's take a look. In the Quran, chapter 3, verse 143, what does it say? By name. The individual is called by name. And Muhammad. We'll make it clear now. Muhammad is illa, except, is not except, nothing but a messenger. Muhammad is nothing but a messenger. So people say sometimes, you know, I've had people encounter and they say, well, brother, you believe that if Muhammad is not a guide and so forth, you believe he was just a messenger? He's nothing but a messenger? Well, Allah says he is nothing but a messenger. That's what Allah says. Illa. He's not except a messenger. And then Allah says messengers have already passed away before him. If then he dies or is killed, will you turn back on your heels? Well, now that seems to convey to me, in the English language that I read, because the law says, he said, no messenger except with the language of his people. So my language is English, and Arabic has nothing to do with me. I can't read or write Arabic. I don't understand Arabic. I don't think in Arabic. I don't dream in Arabic. So Arabic means nothing to me. Allah says, he said, no messenger except with the language of his people. Why? To facilitate their understanding. And that makes sense to me. So now someone has been kind enough, who knows Arabic and knows the language of English, to translate that over for me. Well, you said, well, maybe something got lost in the translation. Maybe yes, maybe no. But I don't think enough got lost so that I get lost. I believe that there's enough here that I can find my way to serve for my Lord. I can find my way. So now, this English text says, Muhammad is nothing but a messenger. He's nothing but a messenger. And the messengers before him have passed away. They have died. If he dies or is slain, will you, the people who are supporting them and with him and joined in with him, will you turn back and run on your heels? Would you run away? That seemed to suggest to me that after the messenger has delivered the message, he's not needed. He's not needed. Not that people wouldn't love to be around him and have him and all that. You know, the mailman comes and delivers my check, puts my mail in the box. I don't need him after that. I got my mail. But it'd be nice if I said, well, he says, what you doing? I said, we're having a barbecue in the back. He says, wow, I'm just getting off in a few minutes. I said, well, when you finish when you get off, come on back and hang out. I don't mind having you around. I don't need you, because I don't need you. You ain't bring me no mail or nothing. You can come and hang out with me if you like, but I don't need you. Once I got the mail, I don't need the mailman. Once you have the message, you don't need the messenger. And that's what the verse is saying, not me. It says, if he dies or is slain, will you turn back? Why would you turn back? You have the message, don't you? So the guide, Allah and or Muhammad. Let's look further. Oh, look at this. Quran chapter 2, verse 272. Allah is telling the messenger there, what? Their guidance is not your duty. Their guidance is not your duty, but Allah guides whom He pleases. Their guidance is not your duty. It's not part of your job description, guiding folks. Your job is balaga, to make the message reach them, not guide. The message has its own built-in, user-friendly guiding apparatus. Their guidance is not your duty, but Allah guides whom He pleases. Now, you can just take that now and say, well, the brother, we believe that Muhammad does guide. And it says, Allah guides. And you say he does guide, and Allah says it's not his duty to guide. Well, then you got a conflict with Allah. You don't have a conflict with me. I'm just reading the text. If you don't like that, you have a conflict with Allah. Like Allah told the messenger. It's not you they give the lie to, it's Allah. When they don't believe you, they're not calling you a liar because you're expounding my message. They're calling me the lie. They're giving the lie to me. So don't worry, that it ain't on you. Chapter 6, verse 108. And we have not appointed thee a keeper over them. Their guidance is not your duty, and not only that, we have not appointed you a keeper over them, a hafiz. Like a hafiz of Quran, somebody who keeps the Quran memorized. Well, this word is hafidun, hafidan. You're not a keeper over them, and thou art not placed in charge of them. You're not placed in charge of them. Wakil. Look at all these terms Allah is using, making it clear. How could you now keep running out here expounding that Muhammad is, we have to follow whatever he says and does. Yes, we don't see it in the Quran, but he says, he does, and so we have to do that. He's our guide, he's our keeper, he's our wakil. What are you talking about in the face of these verses of the Quran? And then finally in chapter 25, verse 31, which is the only verse I had to quote in the first place, it says there, sufficient is Allah as a guide and a helper. Sufficient is Allah. When a thing is sufficient, that means you don't need any more. So Allah says right off the top, He's sufficient. That means from Him outwardly, and I'm not using that to point to any direction or anything. I'm just saying other than His authority, His guidance, He's sufficient. No one else is required to guide or help. So if you think that Muhammad is a guide, then you disagree with that verse of the Quran. You don't disagree with me. It's not me. You disagree with that verse of the Quran, you as a Muslim. Point number 4 that I want to establish. Associate gods or associating gods. Either one. Associate gods or associating gods. Quran chapter 24, verse 55. 24:55. Allah has promised to those of you who believe and do good that He will surely make them rulers in the earth as He had made those before them rulers, and that He will surely establish for them their religion, their deen, which He has chosen for them, and that He will surely give them security in exchange after their fear. They will serve me, not associating aught with me. They will serve me, not associating shay'an, nothing, anything with me. And whoever is ungrateful after this, they are the transgressors. Whoever feel that, look, there's something, well, the Quran doesn't have all the details and all this about every little thing. Brother, well, look, I got you here now. How did the details for Salah? So you said, well, there's no details for Salah in the Quran. Nowhere. All the Muslims in the world make the Salah, ritual Salah, and there's no details for it in the Quran. So, they will serve me, not associating aught with me. And whoever is ungrateful, you don't believe that I'm sufficient as a guide and that you should serve me only and not look outside, then you are ungrateful. After this, they are the transgressors. You become a transgressor after that now. Okay, well, let's look. Quran chapter 9, verse 31 to 32. Associate gods, associating gods. Quran chapter 9, verse 31 and 32. They take their doctors of law and their monks for lords besides Allah. The word there is arbaban. Arbaban. From the term Rab, Lord. Alhamdulillahi Rab Alameen. This term is arbaban. Is plural. Lords from Rab. They take their who? Doctors of law and their monks for Rabs, Arbabs, besides the law. And also the Messiah, son of Mary. And they were commanded, enjoined not that they should serve only one God. So look how the language changed here. Allah says that they take their monks and their priests and their rabbis and the son of Mary for Arbabs, lords. And then He changes it up at the end and says they were enjoined to serve one God. So that those Arbabs are the same as gods. You follow me? The Arbabs are the same as gods. He didn't say they were enjoined to serve one Arbab, one Rab. He says one God. They take their Arbabs as lords when they were told not to take them as lords, that you would have the one God. So they equate it with being gods. You follow me? There is no God but He. He glorified from what they set up with Him. They desire to put out the light of a law with their mouths, in verse 32 of chapter 9. They desire to put out the light of a law with their mouths, and a law will allow nothing save the perfection of his light, though the disbelievers be adverse. So what they're saying, what they say regarding a law out of their mouths is how they think that they will extinguish Islam via the revelation from God. They'll make this revelation null and void, obsolete, with their mouths, talking against the theology of the revelation and the revelation itself. Now I said, well, wow, you know, brother, what that got to do with us? You said they take their doctors of law, so you're thinking maybe the rabbis, and they take their priests and their monks, you're thinking about Christendom and the monks and so forth, and Jesus, the son of Mary. Oh, that's got nothing to do with us. We're not doing that. Those are all people from different persuasions, different theologies. So I said, well, look, what about in chapter 3, verse 79? Chapter 3, verse 79, where the prophet says there, what the Lord has told him to say, nor would we enjoin you to take the angels and the prophets for arbabs. We wouldn't enjoin you to take the Malaikai or the Nabiyin for arbabs. Some of you have done it. We wouldn't enjoin you to do it, but you have taken now the Nabiyin also as arbabs, when you were told they have no God but one God. So you have taken the Nabiyin. So I'm asking, have the Muslims taken the Prophet Muhammad as an arbab? Now again, anybody who's viewing this and wants clarification, we did a segment on, you can Google it or go to YouTube and find out. It's called Idolization of Muhammad. The Idolization of Muhammad. And view that segment. We have a slew of information there that carries this point further. So continue. These approaching gods, because you say there's a reason these people who have done this, who have had God share in his authority, in his legislation, you have said that you take these gods to draw nearer to God. We don't really need them. We're not into them personally, but they are means to get nearer to you. After we can get nearer to you, we don't need them. Until you get lost down another way. Like, brother, can you show me how to get back to the highway? I keep going around the corner. I keep getting lost. He said, look, follow me. So you drive, turn, and then you pull over and point straight. There's the highway, and I see the car shooting by. I said, wow, good. I don't need you anymore. I just needed you to get me nearer to the highway. So you say you want to take these gods to draw you nearer to Allah. 39:3-4. Now surely sincere obedience is due to Allah alone. Wherever you're going to see Allah used in the Quran, whether it's Allah wahdahu or Allah by himself, that's the term. It means Allah alone. You have to always think alone. Allah alone. Now sincere obedience is due to Allah alone. It doesn't say alone, but I'm saying alone. Now if you think I shouldn't say alone, well then who is sincere obedience due to other than Allah? So alone fits right in. There's no problem because it's going to be in other places alone. And those who you choose as protectors besides him say, we serve them only that they may bring us nearer to Allah. Surely Allah will judge between them in that which they differ. Surely Allah guides, not him who is a liar, ungrateful. We serve them only that they bring us nearer to Allah. Verse 4. If Allah desired to take a son to himself, he could have chosen whom he pleased out of those whom he had created. Glory be to him. He is Allah, the one, the subduer of all. So Allah is making it clear here that if he had wanted to take a son, he could have chosen whom he pleased, meaning adopted a son. He can never have a son. So he would only use that metaphor as an adopted son. Oh, if I want a son, I'm not going to get a mate and have a son. He says, how can I have a son when I have no mate? How can I have a son when I have no mate? So he says, but I could have chosen whom I please. You don't have to give me Jesus, the son of Mary. You don't have to give him to me. I could choose who I please. You see? I could have choose whom I please. But he hasn't done any of that. Quran chapter 46 verse 28. Allah says then why did those whom they took for gods, besides Allah, to draw them nigh to him, why did they not help them? Why didn't they help you? Nay, they failed them. And this was their lie and what they forged. This was a lie. You lied and you forged that idea about God's drawing you nearer to Allah. This is in your hadith books and your fiqh books and your tafsir books and your sunnah books. And these are things that you have forged with your hands, saying that God needs this kind of assistance. And God has required this kind of assistance. And that the messenger who brought this Quran, which he didn't convey any of this kind of idea in the Quran, did it outside of the Quran. This is a lie that you forged yourself. Now look at this verse, chapter 10, verse 35, 36. Chapter 10, 35, 36. Pay close attention to this verse. Say, 35. Say, is there any of your associate gods, the people who you have made as a shirt with God, is there any of those associate gods who guides to the truth? Any of them? Say, Allah guides to the truth. Is he then who guides to the truth more worthy to be followed, or he who finds not the way unless he is guided? What is the matter with you, and how do you judge? So now look at this. Pay close attention to this. Listen. Allah is telling the messenger to say, is there any of those associates, those things that you associate with him? If you associate with God, they must be little gods themselves, because they're helping you in some kind of way. So they're like demigods. So associate gods, like Santa's little helpers or something like that, you know. So associate gods. Allah says, is there any of them that guide to the truth? Is there any of them that guide to the truth? Allah guides to the truth. Before you even get a chance to answer, he says, Allah guides to the truth. Then Allah wants you to think now. He wants you to think about this. He says, is he then who guides to the truth more worthy to be followed, or he who knows not the way unless he is guided? Which one is more worthy? Allah says, what's the matter with you and how do you judge? That don't make sense. So I said, wow, you know, wow, that's something. Because it does say in the Quran, chapter 93, verse 7, that Allah, speaking about Muhammad, that we found you stray, and we guided you. وَوَجَّدَكَ ضَالًا فَهَدَى. We found you dhalal, stray, fahada, and we guided you. So you are someone who needed to be guided to the truth. So you're not worthy to be followed then. You're not worthy to be followed. Now, astaghfirullah. Somebody might say that right away. This is what the Quran says. You can't get emotional now. You have to look at and see what the Quran says. You see, if we've been outside of the Quran, divorced from the Quran so long, and we've drank from the cup of hadith so deep, we're drunk, we're intoxicated. So we can't hear the truth. We can't comprehend the truth when it's being conveyed to us. Well, what you say is lawful law. You're drunk. Is there any of your associate gods who guide to the truth? You say, you tell well, Brother Muhammad does guide to the truth. I said, does he? He said, no. Well, I think because what you're saying, no, he doesn't. Oh, he doesn't guide to the truth. Wow, that's something big. You want to go out and say that? You're caught. You don't know what to say. If you say he doesn't guide to the truth, the people are going to be mad with you. If you say he guides to the truth, this Quran is against you. Say, Allah guides to the truth. Is he then who guides to the truth more worthy to be followed, or he who finds not the way unless he is guided? And that's every person that ever existed. No one was able to find the way until guidance came to them. In chapter 2, verse 38, Allah says, get thee out of here. Surely guidance will come to you from me. Whoever follows my guidance, no grief, no fear. In chapter 7, verse 35, Allah says, and when messengers, we will raise messengers coming to you from among you. Then whoever follows my guidance, no grief, no fear. That's from the inception of man's existence in this life. That guidance will come to him. Every person who comes into the earth, guidance comes to him. He cannot find the way of his own accord. Muhammad included, and Allah has already made that clear, that we found you the law and we guided you. Now, if you tell us that Muhammad was 40 years old when he received revelation, well, that was 40 years being the law. Simple as that. We're not saying it was a bad thing. I'm not saying a bad thing because just because a person is the law, it's not a bad thing in the Islamic concept unless and until the person has received the direction now and turns away from it. Once he has brought guidance and he rejects it, now the law is blamable. The law is blamable. A person who never heard the guidance, didn't get a chance and all that, he's the law, but he never heard nothing. He died without the chance to hear. So Allah deals with him according to how he operated on his own basic instincts. Now, in verse 36 of 10, Allah says, and most of them follow naught but conjecture. Surely conjecture will avail naught against the truth. Truly Allah is the knower of what they do. Most of them follow nothing but conjecture. That's all they follow. They follow conjecture. If they're not following the Quran as a Muslim within the fold of Islam, and they're not following the Quran only, then they are following conjecture. Simple as that. Conjecture. Okay, fifth point. And I think I only have 10 points. So I don't want you to think I'm counting 5. How many more he's got? Maybe 30. No, he got 10. Fifth point. Which hadith? So if you want to tell me about hadith, me, Hamza, Abdul, Malik, I'm talking about myself. If you want to tell me about hadith, I've been doing this now 45, 46 years of following Quran and hadith, traveled around the world following Quran and hadith, in Mecca, Medina, following Quran and hadith. So at this stage in the game now, when I'm reading and I'm looking and I'm thinking using my intellect finally, I'm asking you the question, which hadith should I be following? If you suggested, brother, you know, this Quran business that you just divorced of the hadith and sunnah, that's not right. I'm saying, well, okay, that's nice for you to say, I understand that. Where is your evidence? Can you show me the evidence you have? Well, the hadith says, I'm saying, no, that's not what I accept. I accept the Quran. Can I accept, you accept the Quran, I accept the Quran. Let's let the Quran now point to the second thing. We both accept the Quran. I don't accept the hadith the same way you don't accept the Bible and the Torah and all these different books. So, I'm saying, well, let's see what the Quran says. So I'm asked the Quran, what hadith should we follow? I asked the Allah in the Quran. In the Quran, chapter 39, verse 23, Allah has sent down, revealed, the best announcement. The best announcement. You see, a lot of times when English-speaking brothers like myself who read this verse, we don't see the crucial concept here, the Arabic word hadith. We don't see it. All these years I never saw it. I see the best announcement. Didn't look over here and see that word. So that at least they can put the phonetic sound here, the best hadith. Just put hadith. You see, the same way you write all your English books and then you say God, Allah. In all the English you put Allah. You don't put the God, you put Allah. Some do, some don't. So why don't you put the Oxonal Hadith? The Oxonal Hadith. You see, Allah has revealed, set down the Oxonal Hadith. The best Hadith. What? What is that best Hadith? Kitaban. A book. Not books. Not books. Kitaban. The best Hadith is a book. One book. That book is consistent, repeating its injunctions. Whereat do shudder the skins of those who fear their Lord, then their skins and their hearts soften to the remembrance of Allah. This, what? Ahsan al-Hadith, a book. This is Allah's guidance. He guides with it, not them, not those, with it whom He pleases. And whomsoever Allah leaves in error, there's none to guide him. Look at that. Which hadith? A book. Not books of volumes of Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim and Trimothy and Dawood and one thing after the other. Volumes and volumes all the while. Look at all these books. Boy, you must be learned. All these books. A book. A book. All the messenger had was a book. A book, which happens to be the book. Now, that verse there, look what Allah does. He puts that verse there in a positive sense. The book, Ahsan al-Hadith. He knows the term hadith. Then he uses the term hadith again in contrast to this verse to show the difference in hadith from this hadith. He wants to show the difference, you see. When you contrast something, you want to show the difference between them, you see. When you compare something, when you compare things, you're looking to show similarities between the two things and even differences between the two things. But when you contrast, you only want to see the difference. There's no similarity involved, there's only difference. So Allah contrasts over here. In Quran chapter 31 verse 6. And of men is he who takes instead of what? Instead of the Oxonal Hadith, a book that's mutashabi, consistent, repeating this injunction, there are men who take instead of that hadith frivolous discourse. And look what they left that word there so we don't see that. It says lahwal hadith. Lahwal hadith. Frivolous, nonsense narrations. Nonsensical narrations. Frivolous. Foolishness. Instead of that, they take that. Lahwal hadith. Instead of the Oxonal hadith, they choose lahwal hadith. And what do they want to do with it? These people who choose it? Allah knows them. I'm not character assassinating people. Allah knows them. He knows their heart. He knows their intent. So He's telling us what they intend to do. He tells us. Now you want to have a problem about that, like we're picking on people and assassinating their character, and how you know what they want to do with this, and how you know. Well, Allah's telling us. He knows them. He says, look, what they do with it? To lead astray from Allah's path. To lead astray from Allah's path without knowledge. Without knowledge. Without knowledge. And to make it a mockery. They want to make a mockery out of Allah's book. They're taking this lahwal hadith, any hadith that's outside of the Quran is the Ahsan hadith, any hadith other than that outside of the Quran, they are choosing these hadith to lead people astray from the Quran, from the path of Allah, without knowledge, and to make a mockery of it. You know, like brother, Muhammad, he married a 6-year-old girl. And he had intercourse when she was 9. Well, brother, he didn't have intercourse when she was 6. He waited until she was 9. And then he had intercourse with her. So this kind of business here. And many kinds of foolish hadith like that. To make mockery of Islam. People say, that's some mockery, foolishness. All this mess y'all talking in these hadith that they done exploited all over the world now. You better not open your mouth out in this society today to anybody who's learned about some hadith. Especially a non-Muslim person. They'll skin you alive because they done seen the hadith that you got, the foolishness is involved, which you want to say, well, brother, we don't like them, we like these. For such is an abasing chastisement. And verse 7 says, look what verse 7 says of this same chapter 31, verse 7. And when our ayats, our signs, are recited to him, he turns back proudly. He turns back proudly. This person who likes the Lakwal Hadith, when you relate the ayats of the Quran to him, he turns back proudly. Because what, brother, you want to talk about this hadith? Brother, you don't follow hadith? I'm reciting something to you from the Quran. You don't follow hadith? You don't follow hadith? Well, brother, you tell me salah. How you gonna make the hadith is telling me how to make the salah? You said Quran is clear, explain everything in detail. You don't want the hadith. So when you recite the verses to him, the Quran is clear, perfect, detail, fully explained, clear, nothing left out. He turns his back proudly as if he had not heard them, as if there were deafness in his ears. Deafness in his ears. So see if he can hear this. Announce to him a painful chastisement. See if he can hear that. You turn back as if there's deafness in your ears. Well, I'm going to tell you this here. It'll penetrate your ears now, I think. So, 45:6. Which hadith? 45:6. We have the Ahsanul Hadith, which is a book, Mutashabi. With it, Allah's guidance is involved. We have the Lakwal Nonsense Hadith, hadith other than the Book of Allah, which is to take away from the path of Allah and make mockery of it. And now we want to say, Allah is going to tell you here, give you a choice. But the choice is already made. He's giving you a choice. Look, I tell my kid, I said, look, I got your blue shirt that you like and your blue pants to wear to school today. You like it? You want to wear this? Now, I said, go put this on. He said, wow, you asked me to give me a chance to say, I didn't want to wear that. I said, do you want to wear this? You want with it? Go put it on. I'm asking you something and then telling you what to do after that. So I'm not giving you a choice. The choice is already made. Do you want to put this on? Put it on. You don't have to say nothing. I'm giving it to you to put on. Because I just kept the iron and all that. 45:6. These are the ayats of Allah. These are the ayats of Allah. This Quran. The ayats of Allah. Which we recite to thee. Allah said, we recite it to you, Muhammad. To you, thee. These are the ayats of Allah that we are reciting to you, Muhammad. With truth. Truthfully. Now look what he says. He says, in what hadith will they then trust after Allah and his ayats? These are the ayats that we recite to you, Muhammad. Of course, you have recited them. And he asks you, what hadith are they going to trust? Are they going to trust after Allah and his ayats? Yours? Are you going to give them hadith? What hadith are they going to trust? Not you. Not what you. We know you ain't going to be bought. This is what you got. I'm going to ask you that. What are they going to do after Allah and his ayats? And now Allah already knows that they're going to accept other hadith. He already knows that. So he comes back with another verse right behind it. He says, woe to every sinful liar. Right after that, These are the ayats of Allah which revealed to you, Muhammad, with truth. And what hadith will they, the people, accept, believe, and trust after Allah and His ayats, after rejecting Allah and His messages? After they do that, after they reject Allah and His messages, what hadith are they going to accept? And then Allah says, whatever they say out of their mouths, but brother, we have the Sahih Sitta, Hadith Qudsi, and all these things have been sifted and tested and proven. Allah says, woe to every sinful liar, who, just like before, who hears the ayats of Allah recited to him, then persists in haughtiness, as though he had not heard them. As though he had not heard them. Same thing. So see if he can hear this. Announce to him a painful chastisement. Same thing like before what we had. Then Allah goes further about him. So wait, I'm not through with him yet. These guys who want other than the ayats. I'm not through with them yet. Verse 9 of 45. And when he comes to know of any of our ayats, when he comes to know of our ayats, he didn't know now before, but brother, I didn't know that verse had hadith in it. I said, brother, you didn't know the verse had hadith and tell me what's hadith? Wow, I've never seen that before. It's Arabic? Yeah, I gotta take the, and I asked the scholar, he said, brother, you're right. It says hadith. So now when he comes to know of it, he's confirmed it now. When he comes to know of any of our ayats, he take them for a joke, for a jest, for such as an abasement chastisement. Yeah, brother, look. You know, I'm still going. Look, brother. I'm not going to give up what I'm doing. I'm going to keep. I'll just avoid you. That's like a joke. What you told me when I get them know, it's like a joke. So he didn't pay it no mind. Then Allah goes on to say about these ayats of Allah, the ayats of Allah. This is guidance, just like he said for the Asnal Hadith. And those who disbelieve in the ayats of their Lord, for them is a painful chastisement and of an evil kind. Okay, good. Now, point 6, Salah. The Quranic verb, this is what I want to discuss, Salah, from this principle. The Quranic verb, Salah. Salah. The Quranic verb, Salah, because the word is used in the Quran. We want to know what the verb is and how does Allah use that verb in the Quran, Salah. In chapter 75, verses 31 to 32. And there Allah speaks about some disbeliever. He goes on to say about him in verse 31, so he accepted not the truth, nor, they say, nor prayed. Salah. He accepted not the truth, nor did he salah. They translate salah as prayed. Verse 32, but he denied, gave the lie to, and turned back to Allah. He turned back. So I'm saying, well, here's the verb, salah. Sad, lam, lam, wow. Ya. Sad, lam, lam, ya. Salah. And that's the verb. And the opposite of that word, the opposite of that word, salah, is tawalla. Tawalla. Ta, wow, lam, lam, ya. Tawalla means to turn back. So I said, wow, look at that. I said, well, this gives me an idea of what the word salah means. Because if the opposite of the meaning, if I say up, it should give me an idea of what down, and somebody said up and down, up and down, up and down. So once I understand up, and an opposite of it must be down. If I understand over, the opposite must be under. One thing after the other, up opposites. The law says He created everything in pairs. So even in grammar, there are pairs in words. Words are pairs. So the opposite of this word salah is tawalla, to turn back, turn away from. So the opposite of that would be to turn to follow something, So a lot of the people who now have come to understand this idea from the Quran has used terms like commit, allegiance, follow closely, connect, contact, one thing after the other. In other words, like they talk about like a horse being in a race and he's so close to the lead horse that his nose is right on the tail of the other horse. That's how close he is to him. You see? So, salah, the opposite of is tawalla. So, the opposite of tawalla is salah. I'm saying to turn to. Now, I want to establish that for you. I'm going to show you that. Because what is it that we turn to? And why is it so important to turn to? You see? Or is this a ritual, salah, a ritual that the dictionary has to define for us the term salah? Let's take a look. Put another way. Chapter 84, verse 21. See, I'm going to put this another way now. This 75, 31, 32. So he accepted not the truth nor salah, but he denied and tawalla. You see, you say he accepted not the truth nor prayed, but he denied and turned away. Put another way, in chapter 84 of the Quran, verses 21, 22. What does it say? And when the Quran is recited to them, they adore him not. When the Quran is recited to them, they adore him not. That sounds to me like on the level of, so he accepted not the truth nor salah. When the Quran is recited to them, they don't what? Sujood. You see? Yasjudu. They don't submit. They don't sujood. They don't prostrate, or whatever they call that term. I'm saying, I'm not saying it means a physical prostration at all. But whatever it is, they don't sujood. But what do? Nay, those who disbelieve give the lie. So, verse 32 of 75 says, they gave the lie and turned back. Seems like the same kind of concept that's going on. But okay, brother, don't try to stretch that and make that be that and try to superimpose some thinking that you have on that. Okay, good. That's just something to ponder. Maybe you go look at it. Let me go further. Let me go further. Maybe you look at that and you might see something. You might go, okay, no problem. We'll go further. And I'm saying that in both these cases here, salah and sujood point to a frame of mind. Salah and sujood point to a frame of mind, a attitude, you see, acceptance of what has been said, not a physical act, not a physical act. Now, salah in the lexicons rather, salah in the lexicons, in the dictionaries, they define the word salah as ritual prayer, the dictionaries and the lexicons. Outside of the Quran, you go to an Arabic grammar book, a dictionary or something, and they're going to give you the definition as ritual prayer. I'm saying you're not going to get that definition from the Quran. So now I have come to understand that salah, from people who think much deeper than me and don't have much more knowledge, but who still are on the same vein of thinking, are suggesting that this word salah has to be defined within the Quran itself. It's such a subtle and broad-based concept that the Quran has to define it. You see? This is why I started off with the verb and showed you the opposite to the verb. The opposite to the verb salah is tawalla. So turn away, so it must be to turn to. So I'm going to proceed on that line of thinking, but according to the dictionaries and lexicons and so forth, it means ritual prayer. But I'm suggesting that in its original sense, in the Quran, it means to turn oneself towards. To turn oneself towards an established code of behavior. That's what it is, an established code of behavior. An assigned duty. These kind of concepts here are talking about salah. Turn yourself towards something or someone. Put your focus towards something. Salah, you see. And that something is an established code of conduct that you have been assigned a duty in regarding it. Now, Quran chapter 10 verse 104. Quran chapter 10 verse 104. Say, O people, if you are in doubt as to my religion, my deen, my religion, my deen, they say, religion, deen, know that I serve not those whom you serve besides Allah, but I serve Allah who causes you to die, and I am commanded to be of the believers. Verse 105. And that thou shalt set thy purpose, set your purpose towards the religion uprightly, and be not of the mushrikeen, be not of the polytheists. So look, those whom you, if you're in doubt about my deen, and I'm saying to me, deen means is a legal term, legislation, and legislation translates into obedience. So both of those words could be used for deen, legislation, obedience, because if you have any legislation, it's only to be obeyed. Deen. So when Allah says He's Malik Yawmi Deen, He's not the day of religion. He's not master of the day of religion. He's the master of the day that legislation will be, you will be held accountable for what was legislated to you and whether or not you obeyed it. So He's the Malik Yawmi Deen. That's broader, it can go further. I can be corrected if I need to be, but that's where I'm at right now. Say, O people of the book, if you're in doubt as to my deen, I serve, I'm going to make it clear to you what my deen is. My deen is action here. I serve not those whom you serve besides Allah. And that service covers a whole broad spectrum of stuff. But I serve Allah who causes you to die, and I am commanded to be of the mu'mineen, the believers. That word believers means the people who trust. The people who trust this Quran, as a result of that, they are secure, they are safe. The people who trust this revelation, I'm one of those. And that thou set thy face, Akimu wajuhaka. Wajuhaka. They say your face, but some understand this to mean your whole disposition, your whole purpose of being. Set that purpose towards your deen, being upright, hanifan, being upright, and be not of the mushrikeen. Don't be of the people associated who share. Verse 106. And call not besides Allah on that which can neither benefit thee nor harm thee. For if thou dost, thou shalt be of the unjust. Verse 108. Verse 108, and that's of chapter 10. Now, verse 108. Say, O people, the truth, el-haq, the truth has indeed come to you from your Lord. And we know that truth is what it is that was given to Muhammad. In chapter 47, verse 2, it says, that which is revealed to Muhammad, that is the truth from your Lord. That which is, the name is again there. 4 times his name, one time we talked about it, Muhammad is not but a messenger. Now Muhammad again. That which is given to Muhammad as a message is the truth, which he delivers. Once you got it, you don't need him. O people, the truth has indeed come to you from your Lord. So whoever goes aright only for the good of his own soul. And whoever errs only against it. And I am not a custodian over you. Verse 109. And follow what is revealed, wahi, what is revealed to thee, and be patient till Allah gives judgment, and He is the best of judges. He is the best of judges. Follow what is wahi to you, and the Prophet said, this Quran is wahi to me. This Quran alone. So follow that Quran alone. Follow only the Quran, and that's what Allah will judge you accordingly. Now, we remember that in 2849 that the Prophet has said, bring some other book other than these 2 books, and I'll follow it. But we'll get to that later on. Now, in chapter 46, verse 29, talking about the verb salah and to turn, it meaning to turn towards. Turn towards. in its basic original meaning. And when we turn to, so my point here is that Allah is using other terms also, other than Salah, to get his point across. So he's using other terms that mean to turn towards, to incline to connect with, to align yourself with. Other terms. And when we turn towards thee, a party of the jinn who listened to the Quran. So when they were in his presence, they said, be silent. Then, when it was finished, they turned back. They turned back. Wallah, wallah, wallah. They turned back to their people warning. So look at that. We revealed to the messenger that a company of the jinn listened to the Quran. So what I'm suggesting here is that they turned to the Quran. They turned their purpose towards this recitation, this Quran, and paid attention to it. When it was finished, they turned back away now to their people and went and warned them. They went and warned them. I'm simply saying when you turn towards, what your salah means to turn towards, you turn towards this Quran, you are committed to it, you do everything that's required of it. Now we're going to show something else about it as well. Now, verse 46, 30. They said, when they went back to their people, the jinn, they said, "O our people, we have heard a book, kitabin, a book sent down or revealed after Moses, verifying that which is before it, guiding to the truth and to the right path." Guiding to the truth and to the tariq that's mustaqim. Guiding to the right path. A book. Now, we look at Abraham and how he turned towards Allah. He turned towards Allah. And I'm saying that when he turned towards Allah, he now began to Aqimus Salah, establish the Salah. Quran chapter 6 verse 79. And that context is about when he's looking and gazing at the planets and the stars and all that business there and trying to decide which is which. Verse 79 says, "Then when he saw the sun rising, he said, is this my Lord? Is this the greatest? Hadha Akbar. Hadha Akbar. Is this Akbar? Is Akbar an attribute of someone that could be the greatest, or it could be your Lord, Akbar, like you say, Allahu Akbar? He says, Hadha Akbar. Is the sun Akbar? Is that the God who's Akbar? Is this my Lord, Rebel Akbar? So when it said, he said, "Oh my people, I am clear of that which you set up with Allah." So now, Akbar is not the term for God. Not the term for his Lord, Akbar. Verse 80. "Surely I have turned myself, being upright, wholly to him who originated the heavens and earth, and I am not of the mushrikeen." I'm not of the polytheists. I have turned myself, my whole person, to him. You see, now before he was turning here and there, looking at the stars and the moon, what is that, what is this? Wow, such a wonder. No, these things are not right. So he has finally turned himself towards his Lord. You see? And we say, no, not in a direction, but in his purpose. He has directed his purpose towards his Creator now. You see? "Surely I have turned myself being upright, Hanifan, holy to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I'm not of the mushrikeen." Verse 81. "And his people disputed with him. He said, do you dispute with me respecting Allah? And he has guided me indeed." You got time to be disputing with me regarding Allah? He has guided me indeed. You want to dispute with me? I'm quoting to you what Allah has said, and you want to dispute with me because I'm quoting what Allah has said? "And I fear not in any way those who you set up with him, unless my Lord please." Verse 82. "And how should I fear what you set up with him, while you fear not to set up with him that for which Allah has set down no authority?" Which then of the two parties is sure of security if you know? Who's got the best hand here? Why would I fear what you set up with a law when you don't have no authority for that? The law ain't giving you no authority for that. Why would I fear that? Do you dispute with me respecting the law? And how should I fear what you have set up with him, while you don't fear to set up with him that for what you don't fear yourself to set up with him, that for which he set down no authority? So why would I fear what you set up, and you didn't fear to set it up, and you didn't have no authority to do it? So that's like some foolishness. You ain't got no authority to do that. You understand? Why would I fear you come knocking on the door and I saw you just out there a few minutes ago, now you went in the house, put on some uniform, like some cop or something, you come knock on the door and I said, man, get out of here. You understand? You was just outside a minute washing your car. You couldn't put that thing on. I don't fear you. So, point here is that anybody who's fearing anything regarding the law, they have to have authority for it. The person who advocates anything according to a law's dictates and will have to have authority for it. So if you have any hadith and sunnah that you follow, the Quran should give you authority for it. And Allah knows how to use the word hadith, so you have to find it in there. And He knows how to use the word sunnah, so you have to find it in the book to get the authority. Hadith and sunnah, because Allah uses hadith and sunnah in the book. So go in the book and find where it says, "Oh, you people, follow the hadith and sunnah of Muhammad. Follow the hadith and sunnah of the Prophet." Oh, even such thing as obey the Prophet. You just find that. Obey the Prophet. Not obey the messenger, obey the Prophet. You see? Because obey the messenger means Jibril. Jibril was a messenger. Jibril wasn't a prophet. So obey the messenger implies obey Jibril, and he brought the message, and the message, whoever's bringing the message, obey that person, which is the message, not the prophet, independent without message, not him. You see, otherwise you have to be put in check like he was in the Quran. Be the same thing. Number 7. What according to the Quran is the purpose of Salah, and what does it do? What according to the Quran is the purpose of Salah, and what does it do, according to the Quran? Let's see, according to the Quran, what is the purpose of this Salah, and what does it do? Because if I ask you, brother, I said, look, you do this ritual Salah, what does Allah say about it? Does He say accept it? Does He say accept it? We know you make dua. We know you make dua, and Allah says He hears your dua, He accepts your dua. But you make this ritual salah, what does Allah say about it? Does He say, can you show me just one place? I don't want to see a lot. I know you don't have time to show me a lot of places. So just show me one place. That'll be sufficient for me. But let's see. Moses. Quran chapter 20 verse 14. Moses. Quran chapter 20 to 14, but we'll start at verse 9. And has the story, here we have again hadith, has the hadith, the story of Moses, come to thee? When he saw a fire, he said to his family, stay, I see a fire, happily I may bring thee from it a live coal for guidance, or find guidance at the fire rather. So when he came to it, a voice, or he was addressed, came, O Moses, surely I am thy Lord, so take off thy shoes, surely thou art in the sacred valley Tur. And verse 13, and I, now this is God addressing in the first person, He's addressing himself. I, not when he said, or we said, your Lord said. This is Allah saying, I'm talking to you, I. Surely I am thy Lord. I am the one who's speaking to you. I am thy Lord. So take off your shoes. Surely thou art in the sacred valley Tur. And I have chosen thee. So listen to what is revealed. So listen to what is revealed. It's very important to always listen to what is wahi, revealed. Because if you can't listen to it, it means nothing. Like, for instance, when you recite your Dua and Asr Salah, you're reciting what is revealed, but nobody can listen to it. So that's in conflict with the Quran, which says, when the Quran is recited, listen to it, pay attention, that mercy may be shown to you. Chapter 7, verse 204. 7:204. When the Quran is being recited, listen to it. Why? That mercy may be shown to you. Even the jinn said, when they were in the Quran, the presence of the Quran, they said, be silent. This is Allah speaking, so you don't be talking. The Quran, when the Quran is recited, is like listening to Allah speaking. Not speaking his speech, but his words. So Allah's words that you're hearing. So you be quiet. You're not going to talk all Allah talking, are you? I don't know if you want to do that. Verse 14. Surely I am Allah, there is no God but I. Serve me and keep up Salah, Iqama Salah, li dhikri. Well, Akimi Salah, li dhikri. And keep up the Salah, they say the prayer, for my remembrance. Keep up the prayer for my remembrance. Now Salah. Now we went through this thing in the last talk about Moses having lived in Egypt under Pharaoh's rule and having not known anything about no ritual praying and religions other than what Pharaoh had dominated under. Now, the word my remembrance is dhikr. And I'm suggesting to you and saying, as a matter of fact, that dhikr is also scripture and another name for the Quran. Dhikr. So, Aqimus Salah, establish the Salah for my remembrance. And my remembrance is called dhikr. And the Quran is called ad-dhikr. The reminder. You see? Quran chapter 21 verses 48 to 50. 48. And certainly we gave Moses and Aaron the criterion, Furqan, and a light and a reminder for those who keep from evil. We gave Moses the Furqan, the criterion, that which separates, distinguishes one from the other, truth from falsehood, that outlines for you the do's and the don'ts. Same thing that was given in Ramadan, the Quran chapter 2 verse 185. The book was revealed in Ramadan, Furqan. It was Furqan. Also the same term there was used. And a light and a reminder to those who would keep from evil, for the people of Muttaqeen, the people who are people of Taqwa. And don't forget that in chapter 20 verse 132 the prophet was commanded to command your people of Salah and study it, adhere to it. What was the purpose? For Taqwa. Salah was for Taqwa. So the criterion is for Taqwa. 49. For the people who fear their Lord in secret, and they are fearful of the hour. They fear their Lord in secret. Because of course you're going to fear Allah in public. Just like you fear anybody in public. You do things in public. Oh, well, I wonder who's watching all that. But Allah says, no, when you're in secret. Fear Allah in secret. And be fearful of the last hour. Because if you're fearful of that, in secret, you're going to know that Allah sees you. And if you're walking around in public and you're fearful of the last hour, you know that that could come any time and that you're going to be held accountable for what you do. So that covers secret and public. But now, verse 50. And this, Allah says, and this, now after he talks about, certainly we gave Moses the book and so forth, he says, and this, meaning this Quran, is a blessed reminder. Is a blessed reminder, which we have sent down, revealed to you with truth. Will you then deny it? Will you then deny it? Just like what you did over the 7531. You didn't Salah, but you denied and turned back. So this is the reminder. Salah is for the remembrance of Allah. Remembrance is the greatest force. So this Quran is the reminder. So Allah, it all turns around to the Quran, you see. We're going to show further. Quran chapter 15 verse 9. Surely we have revealed the reminder, and surely we are as guardians. We are as guardians. Now, let's see what is the requirement to establish the Salah. Where do we find that requirement? And what is the reason and purpose behind the Salah? we're going to look right in 29:45. In chapter 29:45, we're going to see the requirement to establish the Salah and the reason and purpose behind the Salah. Very simple now. Now we're getting down to the very simplicity of understanding what we're talking about. Here's a verse going to tell you that you are required to establish the Salah, talking to the messenger, and the purpose of this Salah. What's the purpose of it? Now we can find out what Salah is again now. What Salah is again. There it says 29:45. Recite that which has been revealed to thee of the book. And they translate here, and keep up prayer. Well, Aqimus Salah. That was the same thing that Moses was told. Aqimus Salah li dhikri, for the remembrance. Iqamat the Salah, for the remembrance of Allah. So here the message is told, recite that which is revealed to you of the book, and Aqimus Salah. Surely Salah prevents, makes impossible, one from the commitment of al-fahsha, fahish, indecency, and evil, al-munkar. And certainly the remembrance of Allah is the greatest. So here you have the two things that was told to Moses embedded in this verse here with clarification. Moses was simply told, O Moses, Lord, establish the Salah for my remembrance. Establish the Salah for my remembrance. Now here the prophet is told, him personally is talking to him, recite that which is revealed to you of the book and keep up Salah. And the Salah prevents from shameful and evil deeds, and the remembrance of Allah is the greatest force. So Salah and remembrance, the same thing was given Moses. Salah and remembrance is in this verse, but now added on is that Salah prevents from fahish and munkar. So when Moses was told the Iqamat Salah li dhikri, that was the whole nutshell there, that he does this to prevent him from fahish and munkar. This is not being told a ritual to do, a blind ritual, robotic movement. And it says, and Allah knows what you do. Allah knows what you do. Now the purpose of Salah is to make it impossible to commit acts of fahish and munkar, faksha and munkar, to protect from sin. To protect from sin. This is the purpose of Salah. To make it impossible to commit shameful and evil deeds which would protect you from sin. That's what Salah does. That's what this Quranic Salah does. Now, as opposed to the hypocrites, their Salah is like, in modern day terminology, photo ops. Photo ops. You know, like just recently they were trying to get the president to go down to the border. Just go down there and stand there with the kids crossing, the women, children, whatever they're doing, stand there, whatever you're doing. Just like you're involved, you're involved. Like they told Bush, go down to Katrina and don't be flying around, get down, walk on the ground and all that with the people, and you flying around looking at kid. So go for a photo op. So the hypocrite Salah, Allah has said, is like a photo op. In the Quran, chapter 8, verse 35, says, their Salah at the house is nothing but whistling and clapping hands. Whistling and clapping hands, that's all they're doing there. It's out to be seen. And we're suggesting that this Salah that we refer to in 29:45 will not, this fahish and munkar, prevention, making it impossible, shameful and evil deeds, will not be accomplished through vain robotic repetitions. Vain robotic repetition. Vain robotic repetitions. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, over and over again. Reciting the same thing over and over again. Can't do it but this way, one language. Well, you know, you don't know, just do it over and over and over again. That won't prevent fahish and munkar. No, never will. Didn't prevent me. I'm a test example. I'm a test example. And that Salah in the Quran is supposed to prevent anybody. Doesn't matter. If you do that, you're prevented. I don't care what your intention is, as long as you're doing it. You see? If you get in an airplane, you're flying in a plane. I don't care what you got in there for. Well, brother, I didn't get in here to fly. I don't care if you didn't get in here to fly. You're flying. You're still flying. Well, I didn't mean to be flying. Well, you're flying. Simple as that. So if you do the Quranic salah, it's preventing you from fighting your God, whether you intend to or not. Just doing it, you can't do it. 18:27 and 28. And recite that which has been revealed to thee of the book of thy Lord. The book of thy Lord. There is none who can alter his words. And thou wilt find no refuge besides the law. Verse 28, 18:28. And keep thyself with those who call on their Lord morning and evening, desiring his goodwill, and let not thy eyes pass from them, desiring the bounties, the beauties of this world life, and follow not him whose heart we have made unmindful of our remembrance. Unmindful of our remembrance. Don't follow that person. And he follows, by doing that, he follows his low desires, and his case exceeds the due bounds. Don't follow him. Don't turn towards him. Don't be in unison with him. Verse 29. And say, the truth is from your Lord, so let him who please believe, and let him who please disbelieve. Surely we have prepared for the iniquitous a fire, an enclosure of which will encompass them. Verse 30. As for those who believe and do good, we waste not the reward of him who does a good work. So now, we're still talking about the Salah, so let's now investigate a little further. We look at Shuaib, and we want to know, how did his people interpret Salah? Shuaib, how does his people interpret Salah? How does his people interpret Salah? Because we saw Moses was commanded to do Salah. How did he do it? How did he implement it? How did his people, Shuaib, interpret the Salah? Because now they're going to give us an interpretation. The Quran is providing us with this information. Why would Allah point to this here and give us that information unless it has a meaning that we can glean regarding this word Salah? Let's take a look. 1184 to 90. 84. And to Midian we sent their brother Shuaib. He said, "O my people, what? Serve Allah, you have no God but him." It's the first thing out of his mouth. We sent no messenger except they said, "There's no God but me." Serve Allah, there's no. Every messenger said that. First thing that comes out of their mouth, that. Oh, people will come to an equitable word between you and us, that we serve none but Allah. First thing out of your mouth about God is his oneness, his unity. Don't get nothing mixed up with him. Now you can start thinking about what you got to do. We'll get that straight first. Serve Allah, you have no God but him. That's what Shuaib said to his people. He came to his people and said this. "Oh my people." Allah says, and to Midian we sent their brother Shuaib. He said, when he said, "Oh my people, serve Allah, you have no God but him." They're standing there, he's talking to them. "Oh my people," he's got a crowd there. "Serve Allah, you have no God but him." They're listening, wow. "And give not short measure and weight." You guys who are merchants and all that, dipping your hand in the kitty. Don't be ripping people off and cheating people and measuring short and weighing stuff, making it heavy and all, putting some weight on it. Wet the meal, and so put it on the scale and it's damp, and on top it's dry, but the bottom is wet. So the scale goes up. See, he says, "And give short measure and weigh. I see you in prosperity, and I fear for you the chastisement of an encompassing day." You look like you're doing all good. You're doing good. You're prosperous, and everything's going fine for you. Don't be ripping off poor people, ripping them off. Don't do that. "And oh my people, give full measure and weigh justly, and defraud not men of their things, and act not corruptly in the land, making mischief." Don't be doing all this foolishness that you're doing. Highway robbery and one thing after the other, and breaking in and entering and stealing and robbing and murder, prostitution, whatever you're doing. Don't be doing none of that stuff. Calm down. 86. Now, after all that stuff that I've been telling you not to do, what remains with the law is better for you if you are believers. In other words, if you act justly, you give fair weight and fair measures and all that, you're in prosperity and you're going to make money. So after you deal justly and count your money at the end of the day, say, "Wow, I made $100 over." That's going to be good for you. You made $100. You don't have to make $300 by cheating the people. What remains after you've been just It's going to be good for you. You may profit. You see? Don't rip the people off. And I am not a keeper over you. I'm not going to stand over you and watch you do this. I'm just telling you. Now, after all of that is said, look what the people said to Shuaib. Now, he didn't mention nothing about Salah. He wasn't standing there doing a ritual prayer, and they're seeing him, and they said, who's that? They said, Shuaib, what's he doing? He's making Salah. So, well, let's watch him. And while he's making the Salah, says, oh, my people, give faith, there's no God but God, and don't be weighing people on. He's not doing that, making Salah. No. He's standing there talking to the people. And then the people get a chance to retort to him, say something back to him. Look what they said. They said, oh, Shuaib, does your Salah, as-salatuka, does your Salah command, enjoin on you, giving you orders? Is your Salah giving you orders that we, concerning us, that we should forsake what our fathers worship? Is your Salah telling us, look, well, you know, our fathers have these statues and all this stuff. We got pictures of Wad and Zwad and Zwad. We got to take these things down? That's what our ancestors had. We keep them, kiss them, good luck. You mean to tell me your Salah is giving those commands? So, wow, Salah giving commands. What our fathers worship, and that we should not do what we please with regards to our property. Your Salah telling us how to spend our money and stuff. Your Salah is giving you all that kind of information. Forsooth, thou art forbearing the right directing one. So now look how they interpreted Salah. Salah was something that gave commands, that Shuaib was committed to, that he turned towards, that he followed closely, that was enjoined, that enjoins things, that prevents people from shameful and evil deeds. There was no ritual that he was doing there. The Salah prevents shameful and evil deeds. And so that's what he's telling them. That's what he's telling them. Look, he says in verse 88, after they say that, he said, oh my people, see you if I have clear proof from my Lord. You see, what I just gave you, what I was saying to you, is clear proof from my Lord. That's what I was saying. I wasn't doing a ritual prayer. I was talking to you dictates that are clear proofs from my Lord. See you if I have clear proofs from my Lord, and he has given me a goodly sustenance from himself, and I desire not to act in opposition to you in that with which I nanha, same word which is used in 29:45, that the Salah nanha, and what I prevent making possible for you. I desire nothing for you but reform. Reform. You're already formed, and you got out of form. I'm trying to reform you, put you back in the right form, so far as I am able. And with none but Allah is my direction. That's where I'm turned to. My direction is towards Allah, the directions of my affairs, and to a right issue. In Him I trust, and to Him I turn. To Him I turn. To Him I turn. I turn to Him. Salah means to turn to, turn towards. To Him I turn. And so when my turning to Him and giving you this information is the Salah. It's the Salah. That's what it means to turn towards something. So what did I turn toward? God's dictates. What am I giving? I'm giving them to you. And does your Salah give these kind of commands? You know, because our Salah at the house is just whistling and clapping hands. Your Salah is different. It's giving commands, orders and all that. We just got a ritual that we do. Where you get these orders from? So verse 90 says, and ask forgiveness of your Lord, then turn to Him. Surely my Lord is merciful, loving, kind. So I have to ask the sheikh or the scholar, how does the Shuaib Salah give orders regarding Allah's Tawheed, unicity, regarding ethical, moral, social things? How does his Salah do that? You have to tell me, because that's what it did. Number 8. How are we going with time?
So far, so good.
Okay, we're at number 8. We only got 10 points. Attributes of the Quran. You see, because if we're talking about this Quran, and you believe that it's sufficient for your guidance and so forth, you the outside person, who believe that you need secular sources and one thing after the other, who need to have a law share, the Hadith and Sunnah, even though you don't call it that, that's what it is. The Christians don't call the Trinity tritheism, but that's what it is. It's God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Each one is independent. One is in heaven, one is in between heaven as a dove, and one is on earth being baptized or dying. So there's three independent gods at one place at one time. So you don't call it that, so it's no problem, but that's what it is. The Jews don't call God Elohim, meaning plural, but that's what the word means. So you don't call this Salah secular sharing through your secular sources shirk, but that's what it is. You can call it whatever you want. You can see a duck and call them a chicken if you want. There's no problem with me. You see, if that's what you want to call them, you call them that. But it's a duck. Now, attributes of the Quran. Fusilat. This is a term we want to look at. Fusilat. That term fusilat or fasalna means to be explained in detail. Explained in detail. The Quran is explained in detail. And that will encompass everything like being made clear, explained, detail, all of that. Explained in detail. But look how Allah uses choice of verses to make that point about Fusalah, Fasalna. In chapter 41, verses 2 to 4. In chapter 41, verses 2 to 4. A revelation from the Beneficent, the Merciful. Verse 3. A book of which the ayats, or the verses, are made plain, explained in detail. An Arabic Quran for a people who know. Kitabun Fusilat Ayatuhu. A book whose verses are detailed. A book whose verses are detailed. A Arabic Quran for a people who know. Good news and warning, but most of them, what? Turn away, so they hear not. Most of them turn away. Tawallah. They turn away. They don't want to hear. They turn away. They don't turn to. They turn away. I'm not saying the word tawallah is there. I'm saying the word, there's a word there that means that they turn away. I didn't check to see whether it was tawallah or some other term, but the term is there. I did check to see that it means to turn away. I didn't make a note here, so check it later on. Now, so there's, Allah says a book, the ayats, the verses are detailed, explained in detail. Now in chapter 6 verse 115, we have that term again, the Salna. Shall I then seek a judge other than Allah? When this is the messenger talking, the prophet talking, he's saying, shall I, the prophet who brought this Quran, shall I go seeking a judge for judgment, to give me judgment on a matter other than Allah? Should I use my own judgment and make the fatwas and so forth? Should I go look for some sheikh somewhere and ask them, the prophet, shall I myself seek a judge other than Allah? When he has sent down to you the book fully detailed, Kitaban Mufassilan, the book fully detailed. Now uses the term that means fully detailed, not detailed. Fully detailed. Why would I seek a judge other than Allah? When he sent me the book, and the book is fully explained. Everything I need to know regarding my Creator is explained. Now, something else I need to know about taking the camels down to the water and letting them drink, and should I go through this path or go up the rocky way and all that, I'll figure that out for myself. But when it comes to theology, the deen, my responsibility to get me from here to paradise and to be right with humanity and so forth, in terms of the dictates of God and my treatment, one thing after the other, social, economical things, I seek God as the judge. I don't need to be going nowhere else, you see, to get no fatwas and stuff. Now the same word again, upscale some more. We had it just fusilat, clearly explained. Now we have fully explained. And now let's go to 1712 and see how Allah upgrades that same word. Quran chapter 17:12. And we have what? Detail everything in detail. Look at that. We have detail, kulli shay, everything in detail. You see? Wa kulli shay fasalna tafsilan. Tafsir. It's tafsilan, brother. Detail. We have detail, everything in detail. It's like detail the details. And just to put it in a nutshell, the attributes of the Quran, that's what we're talking about. The other talk that I gave on the source of guidance, and you can Google that on YouTube and so forth, the source of guidance will give you more further information, but I'm just giving you a little bit here, the word detail, and I gave you 3 different examples of the upgrade of the term, and now I'm just going to give you something in a nutshell here, what the Quran says, what? In chapter 6 verse 38. In a nutshell, Allah declares in chapter 6 verse 38, we have not neglected anything in the book. We have not neglected shay'an, anything in the book. So in case you want to say, well, Allah didn't give the details for the ritual salah and how to make this and how many rakats and all that, Allah didn't give that. We do it. And Allah told us to do it 5 times a day, but He didn't give us the details. So don't get mad at me. Allah says we have not neglected anything in the book. So is those details a thing that you should know? Well, they should be in the book then. Otherwise, what you're doing is not Quranic. That's not the Quran. That's the law you're doing. If you don't see the details for it in the book, and it doesn't prevent you from fahish and munkar, shameful evil deeds, then that's not this Quran. Brother, that's brother nice painting what you buy that in Italy is the original. I said, no, brother, I studied paintings and art in college. I went to school for that. I can tell you right away that it's a fake. They told me to do it. So come with me. We'll go over to the place in Manhattan where they do all the artwork stuff and bring it. I said, brother, no, that's a fake. You see? That's a fake. So I'm saying that salah, that ritual salah that you do vain repetitions robotically is not the Quranic salah. That's why you don't find the details for it in the Quran. That's not the Quranic salah. That salah doesn't prevent you from fahish and munkar. That's the salah that the Prophet went up to heaven to get in the Hadith Bukhari, that Moses told him to go back and go back and change. That's the salah you're doing. You have to go get that somewhere else. Go get those details from there. Leave that from the Quran. Don't talk about the Quran when you talk about that. That salah doesn't prevent you from fahish and munkar. You're going to do shameful and evil deeds every time after you make this ritual salah. Not everybody does. Somebody might, but this Quran means nobody does. The Quranic salah prevents nobody, and you don't have to be no Muslim or nothing. Just do what the Quran says, and you can't do fahish and munkar. So we have not neglected anything in the book. What? Matters that require it are any matter in the book that requires a detail, explained in detail, distinguished, clear, fully detailed. No second source needed. Number 9. No better book. No better books. No better book. No better books than the Quran. No better book or books than the Quran. Quran chapter 30 verse 35. Or have we sent to them an authority so that it speaks of that which they associate with Him? Have we sent to them an authority so that that authority that they have, it speaks of that which they associate with Him? Quran chapter 28 verse 48 to 49. No, Allah, that answer to that was no. Allah has not sent you no authority that speaks of that which you associate with Him. What you associate with Him? Hadith and Sunnah. Has Allah sent you an authority to speak of that? The authority is the Quran. Does it speak of your Hadith and Sunnah? No. Have we sent them authority that speaks of that which you associate with Him? You associate the Hadith and Sunnah with Him? Does the Quran give you that authority to do that? Show me where it talks about the hadith and sunnah, and you should be doing that. Show me. Don't tell me obey Allah and obey the messenger, rather obey Allah and obey the messenger, or you get confused, obey Allah and obey the prophet, or you don't know which one you're saying. You see, like the Christians said Jesus is the Son of God, and some said, no, he's not Son of God, it's God the Son. Well, either or, doesn't matter. He's the Son of God, God the Son, I don't care. Well, there's a big difference. You might not care because you don't know. So, obey Allah, obey the messenger, obey the prophet. You don't know the difference. So, yeah, I think it's the same. 28, 48 to 49. But now when the truth has come to them from us, they say, why is he not given the like of that which was given to Moses? Did they not disbelieve in that which was given to Moses? They say two enchantments backing up each other. And they say, surely we're disbelievers in both. They want to know how come he's not given the same that was given to Moses. They say, well, look, why would I give you the same that was given to Moses? You disbelieved in what was given to Moses, didn't you? You disbelieved in that. Why would you ask a question like that? Why would you ask me that when you disbelieve in what Moses had? You called it two enchantments, two books of sorcery, trickery, connivery, backing each other up. That one talks about that one. I'm talking about, oh, he's a good man. Yeah, Hamza, he's a good guy. Yeah, brother is nice. You're backing each other up, both crooks. They're both crooks. But they talk, each one's certifying the other one. That's what they're saying about the book of Moses and the Quran. Say, then tell them, then bring some other book from Allah, which is a better guide than these two, and I will follow it if you are truthful. That's what the Prophet told the people. Bring some other book from Allah that is a better guide. Now I got the book of Moses. The book of Moses guides to the Quran. And Allah and the Prophet says, I follow, this Quran has been given to me and I follow only what is revealed to me. But that book is good because it guides to this book. You have that book out there, so you should come, O people of the book. It's going to guide you to this book. And now I have this book and I follow this book. Now if there's any book after this book now that's a better guide, bring it and I'll follow it. That shows us that the Prophet only left and had the Quran for guidance. There was nothing else came after it. Otherwise, it would have came, he would have been following it. He says, I follow only what is real. This Quran, and I'll leave with you in the whole Quran. Throughout the whole book is only the Quran. There's no better. What book? Okay, look. So just assume that, brother, the hadith and the books and so forth. Then there would be a better guide than the Quran. If you're following the secular books now as guiding books, then they would have to be a better guide. Bring me a better guide and I'll follow it. Are you saying that Hadith, Qudsi and all that is a better guide than the Quran? I don't know if you're saying that, but if you do, you better get the grips on what's being said here. Muhammad lived taught, and died by the Quran alone. My last point deals with taqlid, blind following. You see, and why am I putting this in play right here? Because the main reason in the Quran why the people refused any of the messengers, Allah gives the main reason why they refused those messengers was because of blind following. They were blindly following their sheikhs and their scholars and the mufassirs and the alims and one thing after the other. They dictated things to them, and they said, well, this brother is a learned man, this brother is a scholar, this brother went to so-and-so, and he got degrees from here and here, look at all the stuff on his wall. You know, I don't have to ask him, I don't have to check what he's saying. You know, when he says something, it's good for me. I don't have to check, that brother's in Ireland. I don't have to check. So blind following, taqlid. You see? 25:30, look at it. And we'll start at verse 29. In chapter 25, starting at verse 29. Certainly he, the devil, led me astray from the reminder after it had come to me, and the devil is ever deserts man. Look at that. The devil led me astray from the reminder. How did you go astray? Meaning you turned away. Instead of turning to, you turned away from the reminder. Shaitan did that. Shaitan promised that I'm going to what? chapter 7, verse 16, I'm going to wait for them on the Sirat Mustaqim. Where's Shaitan going to wait for? The Sirat Mustaqim. That's the only place he's waiting. He doesn't hang out nowhere else. Go over there and see if Shaitan, no, he's not over there. He's not in the club, he's not over there nowhere. Why? Because that's already wrong. You're wrong over there. Shaitan ain't going to hang out where you're already wrong at. You see? As a rule. Of course, you're going to be getting wronger. But he's going to be on the Sirat to get you out of there. He's maybe got other little gins or something to keep you busy over here. But Shaitan, the main culprit, is going to be on the Sirat. And the Sirat is this Quran. This Quran is the Sirat al-Mustaqim, you see. It's the straight path. It's the path that will get you from here back to your Creator. So Shaitan is going to lay in wait for you regarding this, you see. So Allah tells you in the Quran, when you finish reciting this Quran, say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, not like they do before they recite it. When they pick it up, they kiss it, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, then begin to recite it. No. After you have recited the verse, then you seek protection from the shaitan. You see? After you have recited the verse, that's what the verse says, but that's another issue for another time. Here, look. Certainly he, the devil, led me astray from the reminder, the dhikr, you see, after it had come to me. After it had come to me, Shaitan got me away from it. He pried it out of my hand, man. Said, come. Oh, so, well, okay, you win. You know, he got it out of your hand, got you out there in the dunya, got you lost, straight, the law, you see? After it had come to me, and the devil ever deserts man. Once he did that, he don't need you no more. Once he got you, he stayed with you long enough to whisper to you and suggest to you one thing after the other. You look, brother, don't be bothered with that. Too much confusion. We don't like this man. Don't like that. You know, we don't like what they do. We don't. No, don't go there. You know what they do over there? Well, they're talking about God. They're not scholars. They're not alim. They don't know but they're trying to know, and they're sticking to the basics about God. Well, don't go over there. Go over there where they're talking all this high stuff about fiqh and tafsir and hadith and boob and the guys, you know. Go over there where you don't know what they're talking about. Stay over here. Look, verse 30. And the messenger will say, my Lord, surely my people treat this Quran as a forsaking thing. The messenger will say, they say the messenger will say, some people say the messenger says, one way or the other, it has to remain true. That the people have did what? Mahjuran, from the word hijrah. They have forsaken the Quran, left it. Left the Quran, my people, the Arabs. My people have left this Quran. The messenger said that. So that has to stand true. That if all the Arabs get back to the Quran now, this verse will be wrong in the Quran. You see? In the Quran, Allah makes a challenge to the Christians and Jews. He makes a prophecy to stand. Say the Christians among themselves, the Protestants and the Catholics, they will never agree. They will never agree until the day of judgment. So all the Pope and the big guys got to do is have a summit and say, look, all these Muslims running around the world, converting people and doing that and thinking their book is right, let's prove them that the book is wrong. Let's unite. Because it said we'll never do it. Let's unite, become one under one head, and the Christian world is united under one leadership now. Wow, the Quran is wrong. It said it would never do it. So now you convert to Christianity because we're right. So no. It says, look, the messenger said, my people have abandoned the Quran. So now, all you got to do is come back to the Quran, leave that other stuff, and come back. You will never do it. You have abandoned the Quran. You have, look, my people have treat this Quran as a forsaken thing. Why would his people treat the Quran as a forsaken thing? The Quran, why would they do that? And they're doing it right now. They're doing it right now, today, as we speak. In chapter 74, verses 49 to 51. What is then the matter with them that they turn away from the reminder? What then is the matter with them? Allah's asking, this is Allah posed, this is your Lord who created you, posing these questions to you. What is the matter with them that they turn away from this reminder? You know, if you thought Allah was saying that to you, you said, wow, that's Allah talking, wow, I must be doing something very bad. You know? Somebody said, brother, what's wrong with you? Look at your leg. Right where you want to look. So, wow, it's bleeding, it's cutting, what's going on? You know, you want to take care of that right away. So, brother, you got to take care of that. You right away, you hobble somewhere and get it taken care of. But the law says, what's the matter with them that they turn away from the reminder? You don't care nothing about that. The reminder, you see, Ikama Salah li dhikri, for the reminder, for the remembrance. You turn away from that, you see. You denied and turned back. What is the matter with them that they turn away from the reminder? As if they were frightened asses fleeing from a lion. Look how the metaphor the law uses. They're turning away from the Quran like donkeys and donkeys. That's what it's called, an ass, a jackass or something like that. I'm sorry with the brothers. Like donkeys running from a lion. You see, you know they hightailing it. That's the way you turning away from the Quran. Someone said, brother, come, we want to discuss the Quran. Brother, this Quran alone, you want to talk about the Hadith and all, just the Quran? No, we don't have, you Quran alone. You Quranin. You Quran. They've turned away from the Quran. They forsake the Quran. They run from the Quran like donkeys running from a lion. 42:21. 42:21. Or have they associates who have prescribed for them a deen, a sharia, any religion that Allah does not sanction? You got some associate books and scriptures and dictates that tell you some deen, brother, this is Hanafi Madhab, and this is Maliki, and we stand like this, and we do like this, and we don't prostrate on this, and we bow on some rock, and we don't stand this, and we turn this way, and we don't, it doesn't matter. You, look, have they associates, the people who they associate with Allah, their shirk mushriks, who have prescribed for them any sharia that Allah does not sanction? And then Quran chapter 43:21. 43:21. Or have we given them a book before it so that they hold fast to it? These Arabs, the Arabs did. Have we given you a book before this? That you holding fast to that? You don't have no book before that. Why you don't look at this? You didn't know what the book was, know what to believe. That you hold fast? Nay, they said we found our fathers on a course and surely we are guided by their footsteps. We don't have this book you got. This new thing you got, this book, Quran and all that. We don't need that. No, we don't want that. Our fathers been doing this here and that's what we do. Brother, when you took your Shahada, says, I took it about 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 4 years. Said, why you got the beard red and all this stuff like that? What happened? Said, well, this is what they do. This is what I found them doing. This is what they were doing, and I wouldn't color mine. And then they said, brother, don't have your pants walking down there, put them up high like that. So I put mine up high. Look, nay, they said, we found our fathers on a course, and surely we are guided by their footsteps. They're their associate gods. You see, is there any of your associate gods who guide to the truth? And so now they're saying we found our fathers on the footsteps, on a course, and we are guided by them. So their fathers, their forefathers, their ancestors, their people who went before them who passed down this sunnah, is their gods. Is their associate gods who guides them to the truth. We only do that to bring nearer to you. No, never mind the stories. Look. 42:23. And thus we sent not before thee a warner in a town, but its wealthy ones said, the wealthy ones, the big shots, because the little man, he ain't got much to say, he's just in awe of the big guy. So the wealthy ones said, surely we found our fathers following a religion, and we follow their footsteps. You see? That's what the wealthy people said, the big sheikhs and the scholars and all that sitting back. And brother, you come into the place, say, brother, excuse me, brother, sit back there. This is for sheikh, show us the sheikh over here. They sit over here. You sit back over here. And they come in with the big clothes and big thing and all that, sit down and stuff. You see, you in all of them, wow, subhanAllah. The brothers are scholars and they know, you know, and you in awe of them, you see. Look, it says, surely we found our fathers following a religion and we follow their footsteps. We don't care. That's what it is. We ain't have to check out nothing and all that. That's what they were doing. That's what we do. The warner said, even if I bring you a better guide, you're going to do that even if I bring you a better guide than that which you found your fathers following? They said, we surely disbelieve in that which you are sent. We don't care. Even if I bring you a better guide, you don't care. You got a better guide than the Quran? You have a better guide than the Quran. Look, you see? So let's just assume you feel that you got some secular guidance, which we already ruled that out. Is that a better guide than this? No. So what do you need that for? This is the best guide. So you lose anyway. You're a loser. If you just ponder and meditate on this Quran, you'll see that you're a loser. You see, I'm going to look into this camera, and I hope that anybody who knows Arabic will convert this into Arabic to some sheikh or some scholar and let him respond to it. Because maybe he said, who's that brother just flipping through YouTube, because they got YouTube. And they only look through the Arabic channel and all that. See this brother standing there. Who's that brother from the United States? Somebody over there. What is he doing talking about the Quran? What? We can translate what he's saying. Translate it for them. You see? And this is what you're doing. This is what the Quran is saying to you, that you abandon the Quran. Translate 25:30 to the Arab. It says, the Prophet said, my people, my kaum, the Arabs, they have fled from the Quran. It says, wow, by God, he's right. Look what we're doing. So look, tribal tradition, that's what they're into. Let me close with this now. Let me close with this. Quran chapter 6, verse 54. And when those who believe in our ayats, come to you, say, Salamun alaikum. Your Lord has ordained mercy on himself, that if any one of you does evil in ignorance and turns after that and acts aright, he is the forgiving, the merciful. So Allah says, tell the messenger, if anybody who trusts in this Quran come to you, people who trust this Quran, say to them, Salamun alaikum. You see? And tell them that Allah is so merciful that he ordered mercy for himself, that if you turn and do the right thing, he'll pardon you. That's his contract with you. He doesn't have to, you see? But he will. He's forgiving the merciful. Now look, so this idea of saying Salamu Alaikum, now you hear that all day long. Every Muslim walks up and says, Salamu Alaikum. Assalamu Alaikum. Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu Alaikum. Assalamu Alaikum. Wa Alaikum Salam Habiba. Ba da 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 da. So that's everybody's nice and fuzzy. You see? But the Prophet said, the law says, when those who trust in our ayats come to you, say, Salamun Alaikum. This is a brother, you nitpicking about the as-salam, just because don't say as-salam, just say salam, that's nitpicking. Okay, so let's leave the nitpicking alone, because that's what the Prophet would have said, what's revealed in the Quran. He wouldn't put as on the salam. But, okay, you don't like that, that's hard for you. So, I got something waiting for you, it's bigger than that. Look. Let's leave that alone for a minute. Look, let's go over here to Moses, chapter 20, verses 47 to 48. And let's talk about Moses and Aaron when they went to Pharaoh. 47. The discourse is going on there, and Moses was sent to Pharaoh, and he said certain things to them. And then he goes on to say, indeed, we have brought thee a message from thy Lord. Indeed, we have brought thee a message from thy Lord, and peace be upon him who follows the guidance. You see, peace is on him, salam is on him who follows al-huda, the guidance. It ain't on you if you're not following the guidance. Salamu alaikum don't mean nothing. It doesn't mean nothing if you're not following al-huda. If you're not following, so the Prophet said, those who trust Al-Huda, trust this here, when they trust, the people who believe the Al-Huda, trust the Al-Huda, when they come, say Salam Alaikum, because that's going to be good for them. If they don't, they got hadith and all this stuff with them. Nah, it's some foolishness. So Pharaoh, he's telling them that you will not be safe and you will not be secure unless you follow Al-Huda. So, I'm saying salam is on those who follow al-huda. You should get down with this. And what is Al-Huda? Only the Quran. Only the Quran is Al-Huda. Only the Quran. Verse 48. It has indeed been revealed to us that punishment will overtake him who rejects and turns away. Who rejects and turns away. So, if you reject and turn away, which is tawalla, turning away from the salah, what you going to do? You're going to go to hell. It's punishment. It's guaranteed. You see? It's guaranteed. They even tell you in the little hadith things that they talk about, brother, the first thing they ask about is your salah. If your salah ain't right, you're going to hell. Well, that's what it just said. Salah. So salah is following this book here, the Al-Huda. If you haven't done that, you're going to hell, aren't you? Or if you associated something with Allah, you're going to hell. You're with the seer. Finally, 2791. The prophet says there, I am commanded only to serve the Lord of this city, who has made it sacred, and his are all things, and I am commanded to be of those who submit. Verse 92, and to recite the Quran. So whoever goes aright, he goes aright for his own soul. And whoever goes astray, say, I am only one of the warners. I am only one of the warners. I'm commanded to recite the Quran, not the Quran and. I'm not commanded to recite the Quran and Hadith. I'm commanded to recite the Quran. Whoever goes aright, because you can go right by the Quran, you can go right by that recital. Or if you don't follow it, you'll go astray by not following that recital. It's not by not doing Hadith and Sunnah. Quran chapter 34 verse 24, starting there. Say, and this is the last. Say, who gives you sustenance from the heavens and the earth? Say, Allah. And surely we or you are on a right way or manifest error. Either we who adhere to this Quran, or you who accept Quran and Sunnah, either we or you are on Huda, guidance, or the law Mubin, clearly astray. Or not just astray, just clearly astray. Why is it so clearly astray? Because if you're not following this Quran by itself, it's clear that you are astray because you're mushrik. You see? Chapter 6, 107 says, follow what is revealed to you from your Lord, there's no God but He, and turn away from the mushrik. You see? 34:25. Say, you will not be asked of what we are guilty, nor shall we be asked of what you do. Say, our Lord will gather us together, then He will judge between us with truth, and He is the best judge, the knower. Say, show me those whom you join with Him as associates. Show them to me. By no means can you. You can't do it. Nay, He is Allah, the mighty, the wise. And we have not sent thee but except as a bearer of good news and as a warner to the people, all the people, but most of them know not. Most of them know not. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. I want to thank everybody for patience listening to this talk. I invite everybody who hears and sees this videotape not to jump up and get angry and all that, but to go and check out the points of reference. If you disagree and all that, that's your business, not mine. I'm not a guardian over you. I'm not wanting to do. I don't have any organization, no nothing. I'm just a seeker after truth. You go and look and you check. If anybody has a forum that they would like to invite me or someone who advocates the same as I advocate, I will be sure, but I can only speak for myself. I'd be more than happy to attend any organized proper forum to discuss or debate with anybody in opposition to what I am advocating here, and that is the Quran by itself. Thank you.